Okay, in the last class we have seen this code, right? We have done in the lab as well, right? So what we have done is we have just created an array of size 5, and as I told you, this is the inline initialization of the array elements, right? That means we give the elements in the same line in which we have declared the array. Yeah. Okay. या अब बताओ, ठीक है, थोड़ा साइज बड़ी कर लेते हैं, ठीक है। ओके, तो ये जो हमने इस लाइन में करा है ना, दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव डन हियर। वी हैव equal to के we have got something in the left hand side of equal to, and we have got something in the right hand side of the equal to. The left hand side of equal to is what? It's the declaration. What it says, ARR is a variable name, right? And square bracket means this variable name is meant for a array of size 5, and it can hold the elements of int type, integer type numbers. ठीक है? So this side is the declaration, this side is pure declaration, and here on the right hand side of equal to is the initialization, right? And because we are doing the initialization right in the same line where we have declared, this is called as inline initialization. ठीक है? So to initialize we need a curly braces. We start with a curly braces, we end with a curly braces, and elements are in between separated by the delimiter comma. Correct? Suppose there is another way where we would have not chosen to initialize inline. So this is just declaration, right? You see, if I do the same thing in this is the online compiler, right? I'm doing in the online compiler. If I just try to execute, let me see if I am getting any error. The code is compiling. That's a different thing. If I try to search, that search element will be not found because all the elements of this array are populated by some numbers which we have not provided. Maybe some garbage number, maybe 0, some number, right? So let's say if I am searching for 25, definitely I will not get 25. Okay? If I want to print what are the elements inside, I can print those elements also, right? Because here only declaration is done, but initialization is not done, right? Another way to initialize is, once you have declared the array, you can go manually and say ARR of 0, right, is equal to say 10. Now let me just copy it. ARR of 1, we know the index position starts from 0, right? And 5 elements means the index position will last till 4. So these are the 5 elements. 10, let's say it's 8, then it's, let's say it's 18, then let's say it's 2, let's say it's 101. Okay? So this is another way of initialization where I have not chosen to initialize the element of the array in line at the line of declaration, rather afterwards, right? Okay? Now let me just run it to make sure that everything is working fine. I want to search, say, the element 2. So element 2 is found at index position 3. That is actually the position 4. Correct? The other way could be, instead of this kind of initialization, let me put it into comment. this is a multi-line comment, right? Guys, this is a multi-line comment, right? Double slash, as here, it's a single line comment. And if you want to put multiple lines in a comment, then you have to use this syntax, right? You start with slash, star, then end with star and slash. So all these lines are turned to green. That means they are in comment. They will not be executed now. I can see that code, but they are not the part of the compiled code, right? The other thing that I can do is I can read those elements instead of hard coding it like here, and I can allow this code. Let me just execute it. So first the message that I will see is print enter 5 elements, and then ARR 0, that is the first element at index position 0, and there is a ampersand sign in the scanf function. This ampersand sign indicates the address of that location. That means the address of the array element that will be holding the first element. I am passing that address so that the value could be read and directly placed into that. So ampersand means the address. Okay? Ampersand means I am passing the address of ARR 0, right? And what needs to be scanned? Scan means read from the keyboard, right? Correct? Should be of the nature of digit, percentage %d, that means integer, right? So here is the indication that the nature of the value that we are reading, because everything we enter in the keyboard is in the form of a character or a string, right? But while allocation, that must be converted to a numeric form so that any computation could be done. Comparison operation must be allowed, right? So this is an indication that the input element is in the form of numeric value, integer, and this is the address of the first element. Similarly, the address of the second element, third element, fourth element, and fifth element, lasting till the index position 4. Okay? So now I will be asked to enter all the 5 elements. Enter 5 elements. Let me say the first element is 45, second element is 23, third element is 56, fourth element is 21, for example, fifth element is say 100, right? Now enter the key to search. Let me say 21. So element 21 found at index 3 or position 4. Correct? Okay. The other thing that I saw lot of people were asking that what happens suppose we have got duplicate elements in the array. This is the question we handle in the lab. So just to make it in the recording, so that if you listen this recording next time, then you are able to recall yours that thing that we discussed in the lab. So suppose if we enter the elements as a duplicate, let's say the first element we enter here is say 2, right? Second is 4, third is 1, fourth is 5th, and the fifth element is again 2. So 2 is repeated, right? Let's see what is the output. Enter the key to search. Let's say we are asking about 2 itself. So 2 is at 2 position. One is at index position 0, the other is at index position 4. That is first position and the fifth position, right? First element and the fifth element. Index position 0 and 4, element first and fifth. Okay? So element 2 found at index 0, position 1, right? Why? Because when we try to search it, we are using the construct if, else if, else if, else if, else if, and so on. Even if we put a last else also. So what will happen is all these else if are the part of if, the first if. See, they attach themselves to the first if. So whatever happens in the if, block. If that is checked, it's all right. If the condition is met, we will get out of this whole thing, the whole if else nested ladder. We will get out of it, right? Suppose if it is not found in the first element, it will come to the second element. Okay? This is the else of previous if. That is why we are saying else of if, the previous if. So if it is found here, the result will be 1 index position, and once found, it will exit out of the if else ladder, right? So the first appearance of the duplicate element will be reported in this case. Okay? Because all this if, else if, else if, else if, the whole ladder is of the conditional statements are associated with the first if condition. They are the part of the same if condition, same ladder, right? What if instead of else we just have if everywhere, right? Now these if are independent. Okay? They are separate ifs. They are separate ifs. In that case, even though if I enter the same element like 24152, just remember 24152, right? I am going to execute it again. 24152. Same sequence, right? And then I am searching for 2. Earlier, I was getting the answer index position 0 element, the first element. There it was found. Here we will see that element 2 is found at index position 4. That is fifth element. Why? Because now all these if are disjoint. They are not connected to the ladder, right? They are separate things. So the first if was invoked, key was found because the first element was key is 2 and the first element of the array is also 2. The key was found, result was set to 0, which is the index position actually, right? But then it keeps on moving. When it comes to 4 again, this is also become true because the element is again found at the fourth index, which is the fifth position, and then result will be overwritten by the next value of 4. So here you will get the last occurrence being reported. Okay? So depending upon what you want, whether you want the first occurrence to be reported or the last occurrence to be reported, you can use else if or if, simple if, right? Okay? I think rest of the code is all clear. ठीक है ना भाई? किसी को डाउट है तो बताओ. All clear, right? Okay. So let's proceed further. Now let's see the next version of the same code. Look at this code. Okay, let me just copy it. Just a second. Okay. Now look at this code. So in this code, what I have done is I have combined both linear search as well as binary search, right? You can see, you can notice one thing, that this program is more modular. Modular means a module is a self-sufficient unit of code. ठीक है? A module is a self-sufficient unit of code, and the least level of modularity is a function. ठीक है? A function. Function is just like a main function, right? So you can see I have divided the code into a number of functions, and this first line of the function is called as the signature of the function. This first line of the function is called as the signature of the function. Sometimes prototype of the function also it is called. Okay? Because it gives me a lot of information about what is expected out of this function. Like for example, if you can read, we will make sure that whatever the name that we give to the function, even to the variables, that name itself is verbose, it's vocal, it tells a lot about it itself, right? So this is a function, it has a body which starts from a curly braces and ends at a curly braces, right? Right? Correct? If you have a if block, there also you have a body to be start and to end, right? So, and the function contains statements, right? You just look at the name of the function, scan input. So we are going to read the input, right? For example, the elements of the array, correct? Then what does it say? In the bracket, this is called as parameter, right? This is the parameter. The parameter means it is expecting something. This function expects some information, and that information must come in a form of a bucket. So the bucket that is coming is an array of integer. Now this function should be given an array of integer, maybe an empty array of integer, right? So that it could read from the keyboard and then populate that array, that bucket. Okay? And we know that array is something which contains multiple values. Okay? It is contiguous in terms of memory location. It could be randomly accessed with the index value, right? And what more? I told you three principles, right? Random access, contiguity, and homogeneity. Homogeneity. It will contain all the elements should be of integer type only. I cannot say one element is integer, the other is character, the third is float. I cannot do that. Okay? It has to be all elements. If the size is 5, then all 5 elements would be of integer type, because it says it's an integer array. So three conditions I told you of the array, three things. One is the contiguous in terms of memory location, right? The other is dynamic access. That means I can just say index 4, index 1, index 5, and that value I could fetch, read, or write, right? So that is random access, right? And then the third thing is it is homogeneous. The element must be of the same type. Okay? So this function is expecting an array, and as expected, when it has to scan and populate something to this array, I will expect this array to come as an empty array, right? Even if it is not empty, it will be rewritten over it. Okay? Then there is a int before the function name. This is called as return type. Okay? That means this function will take whatever is in the parameter, do some action, and then return something back to the caller. Okay? This function is going to be called by someone. Someone is there who is going to use this function. So he will give array, maybe an empty array, to this function, and this function will do something like populating that array, and after populating, it is going to return me something. Okay? It is going to return me something. because here the return type is integer. So the nature of that something which is being written is also integer. If this would have been a char, char, right? So I must have written something like this. Say T for true, right? Something like this. Correct? So depending upon what is the return type, that is the promise, and that promise must be fulfilled. Correct?
Sir,
Yeah.
even if we had given any letter, we would have considered any letter.
Any letter means
Yes, like suppose
A, B, C, D, anything.
yes, any.
Right. If it is character, it will take anything. If it is Boolean, then there are just two values, right? But Boolean is not directly implemented as like we have got key caret, right? We do not have Boolean directly as a key. However, there are workarounds which allow us to get that thing done.
So for Boolean, we write int.
Yeah, we can use 1 and 0
For Boolean,
for Boolean.
we write int for that for the function.
So that is why I'm instead of taking char, I am making it simplified and I'm taking it int, right? So that if I return 1, that means a true value. If I return 0, that will mean a false value. And why I am returning this is because whosoever is calling this function will get this value back, and he will know whether the array has been successfully populated or not, or some error has happened in between. Right? Correct. Get it.
In last class, you taught us that any number positive or more than that, it would tell us that the program is executing. If negative means not. Something like that.
Yeah. So normally होता क्या यही होता है कि if any value is positive, that is an indication of that's a convention, and that's an indication that the value the operation has been successful. Any negative value indicates it's false. I can do this also. I can make -1 here, no issues. But this depends now. This is attached to my logic. What I have done over there. If I have checked for 1, that means 1 is true. If I have checked something which is not 1, then 0 and negative, everything is included in that. If I would have checked for negative value, that is the false condition, right? Then this minus would make sense. Now this logic is not in my control. Okay? That's one convention. Okay? People also follow this convention that if you have got two values to return, just true and false, you want to model two values, true and false, just like Boolean, in terms of integer, then the way is that you normally model 1 for true and 0 for false. Okay? So here there are just two things that could happen. Either array is populated or array is not populated, right? So just two conditions are there. Either the function is successful in doing whatever it is meant for, or it's not successful. So let me assume the convention here that true is for success and 0 is for false condition which is not success. Okay? So now it's my assumption now, as of now. Okay? थोड़ा सा मैं आगे बढ़ के let me go ahead and just show me you from where I am calling this function so that you know it. Okay? Let's go to the main function, because main function is the one where the code enters first, and from it every other functions are being called, right? So here is the main function. Just see, scan input numbers. So numbers is what? It's an array. Numbers is an array. Okay? This array is being passed, right? And this is declared here. That means it's an empty array. If it contains any value, it could be 0 or garbage value. So it's an empty array that I am passing to the function, because function was expecting an array so that it can read and fill the elements, int elements into that array, right? And this scan input is going to return me either 0 or 1, right? If it is going to return me 1, I am putting a exclamation mark. So that means not. If not 1, that will be read as if not 1. अगर ये ऐसे नहीं कंट्रोल दैट सॉरी अगर ये ऐसे होता तो हम कहते if 1 यानी if success. If not 1 means if not success, that means 1 is changed to 0, the false condition. ठीक है? Then if not success, then printf exiting due to bad input. something bad has happened, your input was not correct, the array was not properly populated, and something wrong has happened, and return -1, the code exited, program terminated. Got it? Got the idea? Let's see in what condition we will get 0 here. Let's go back to our scanf function, right? See, the instruction that I am giving in the printf, that means the message that will be printed is enter %d, that will be replaced by array size. Array size contains say 5, 10, whatever you initialize. We will see what is array size actually, why we have written in capital letters, you will see it, right? So assume its value is 5. So enter 5 integers in the range -99 to +99. So I am putting a restriction that you cannot enter any value in the array which is beyond -99 and beyond +99. So that's the range in the line number line. You know what is the number line is, right? So if I say -1000 or +1000, that should not be allowed to be entered into the array, right? So here scanf is there. Scanf is there. Just look at that code which I am telling. We will look at the whole code again and try to understand what the other things are there. But as of now, just look at this code. Scanf, it is reading for AR of I. I will start from 0, right? So first element. What it says, if it is not equal to 1, means what? And then this is called as OR. Okay? Like exclamation mark was not. Double ampersand, double and sign is and this is OR. That means this condition must be true or this condition must be true or this condition must be true. In any of these conditions, if any of these conditions are true, then if any of this condition, let's say first condition is true, I'm not going to check for the second and third because we have to look only for any of one of them to be satisfied. If this would have been not or but something like this, and here also and, then that means all the three conditions must satisfy at the same time. Okay? That means this should also be true, this should also be true, and this should also be true. Being true of one of them will not satisfy. But here, because we have not got and, we have got or, which is the pipe symbol, where it is, just a second. Right, this one. Right? If any of these condition fails, any of this condition is like this is not equal to 1, or ARR is less than 999, like -1000, right? Or ARR is greater than 999, that is plus 1000 or above, right? If any of this condition is true, just one condition is true, we will printf invalid user integer, okay? And we will return 0. We will return 0. So in this condition, the return will be 0. Okay? And when 0 is returned, what will happen? Come to the main function again. Just come to the main function and let's see. Here, this thing will be replaced by 0. Right? 0 will be returned. The function will return 0. This thing will be returned by 0. Not of 0 means this will be returned by 1. 1 is what? True. 1 is evaluated as true. So if true, exiting due to bad input, we are going to exit. Got the idea? How thing is working? Right? Let me put it back the earlier code. Okay? So if you are not able to understand what is going to ultimately be the condition here, try to replace, like scan input is going to return 0 or 1. So whatever it returns, then not means just make it opposite. If it is 0, make it 1. If it is 1, make it 0. and then see the ultimate answer is 0 or 1. If it is 0, that means it's telling about the false condition. Then this, under false condition, this will not execute. If ultimate answer is 1, then this will execute. So if the function scanf, scan input function, if that function returns a 0 value, then here ultimately we are going to get a 1 value, because that will be negated with this not operator. Okay, this is a not operator. Okay, and then that will become 1, and this condition will become true. 1 means true, and then the condition become true. Whatever is in the block, that will execute. If true, it will execute. Got the idea? Any questions?
So whenever we use int for any function, it is a mandatory to give the written any number.
Yeah. If you do not give, if you promise something like in the return type, you set in the scan input function, the return type is int just before the function, and if you do not return it, you will get a compiler error. Yeah.
So
Because the compiler is checking that you are uh, uh, promising something, and then you are not fulfilling the promise. We can see that. We can see that. Just let's see. I am just, this int is there, right? Return type is there. Here it is a return type int, right? I am just commenting this line of code, right? On now, let me execute. Net is gone. Just a second. Enter 5 integers. Okay. Let's see. Let's just try to enter. Okay. And we are entering the valid input. Okay. Normally, in most of the languages, this does not happen. We can also try it into a code block as well, because this is online editor. So I am not sure it is because of the online editor or because C is allowing it somehow. But normally it doesn't happen. If you try in Java or C plus or other languages, you will see that it will give a compilation error right over there. The ID will give, in fact. Okay. Let me just give a valid input. Okay. Let's see what happens. 3, 1, 6, 7. Search. Okay, so here in case it is taking it as by default as true only, because it has worked, right? So it is taking true, but this is not appropriate. If you want, I can just try it in code blocks right in front of you, and let's see what happens there. No, this code block is also running. This is also running. So we will assume that it is giving you a value of 1 as a return value, right? It is working. But the rule in general for any language is this should not be done. This should not be done because you are breaking the promise. Okay? There are many languages which will stop you at the compiler phase itself. Okay? I typically work on multiple languages. Okay? That is why what I told you is based on the general assumption. Okay? However, this should be absolutely not done.
There must be some logical error.
There could be a logical error if the default, because the default value it is returning as a success value, right? It's returning some value, right? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's try to print I over here. Let's see. Maybe it could be some other reason. Print f. Is it correct? Syntax is correct. Let me know. Is correct? See, I has got some garbage value, right? And then let's go there. Uh, let's stop execution and let's go there where we have made a call. So these are the techniques we can use to debug, right? We can figure out what's happening inside it, right? If we want to figure out. Okay. So let's say Control C. Int return value, right, is equal to this thing, and now I am replacing return value with, guys, have a look at this. Whatever we are doing at the runtime, right? Just look at all the possibilities. Did I change the code anyway? Sorry. Did I change the code anyway? What I did is I took this scan input number function call from within this if, let this not operator be in place, have not disturbed it. I've just put it outside, right? I'm putting a semicolon, control Z, sorry. I'm putting a semicolon over here, right? Now, whatever it is scanning, whether 0 or 1, that will be stored in a variable with the name return value. And that value I am putting over here, right? So it's just the same thing I am breaking down into two steps so that I can retain the return value, because I have given that value a bucket to store. Now here what I can do, I can print that return value to see what we are getting when we land here. Okay? So I am saying printf return value is equal to %d comma return value. Correct? So from there we have seen the value of I was what? It was a garbage value. And let's see what is coming over here. Okay, let's see. Remember that we have already commented that return statement. Okay, it is not printing. Tell me why. It has not printed the return value. Why? It has printed I, right? But it went to the next step, enter 5 integers. Okay, let me do it. Okay, that is inside the scan input function. We have yet to enter the elements, then only something will come back, right? Let's say 5 1 8 3, right? Now what happened? Did it printed the return value? No. Why not? Because what we have done, we have put the print f statement inside the if block, right? So it has not entered into the if block, then it will also not print it, right? Rather, what we should have done is we should have placed it outside the if block after the if block is over. Let's try now. I is printed, which is a garbage value. Enter 5 integers. Let's say 5 2 6 1 8. 5 values I have given, right? Now return value is 8. Return value is 8. Somehow it is returning the last red value. Okay? Now it doesn't know whether I have to return the value of I, whether I have to return the value 1, or whether I have to return the value 0. So whatever is in the last, that means in the buffer, whatever the last red value is there, that value is being returned. And because that value is valid, right, whatever it is, it's a positive value, it is going to give me a true value, it's not 0. So we are proceeding with the steps. Okay? So that's the gap in the language itself. That's the gap in the language itself. That's a deficiency of the language. The language compiler should have stopped me at that point only. Why? Because if I am not fulfilling the promise, the results are unexpected. And the cause, then I have to dig up. Right? The cause could be anything. It could be a garbage value being returned which is positive value. It could be the last buffered value as we are getting here. Right? Now it depends upon the runtime of the language. Right? So that creates an unsurety of what we are going to receive. When we teach, say other languages like advanced languages like Java and other languages, we call those languages are more robust. More robust. Robust means strong. Strong in terms of what? Strong in terms of giving you a chance to create a mistake. That is one of the aspects of being robust. There are many aspects in which robustness could be defined. That is one of the aspects. Okay. So this is just a kind of a mutual discussion. If you keep on digging, we can get into something new every day. Trust me, I am also working on C with you after 2005. Even not 5, 4 you can say. When I did my MTech. I was very good in C at the time. But then I have never worked on a C. क्यों करना है भाई काम मुझे? आप लोग नहीं होंगे, सही बात है. So after such a long time, this is the first occasion that I am teaching a first year student. Otherwise, mostly I teach Java and other languages, but it's the first time that I am teaching you guys, and that is why I am putting so much effort in creating all those videos and everything, so that every time when I teach the advanced languages, I see that the students are very much deficient in the very fundamental aspects, because they keep on talking like that. People sitting in the back, right? They never listen, and if they never listen, their base their fundamental is going to be 0, and that will keep on continue because every next programming language is not meant to start to teach you from the beginning. It is meant to build on something what you have already learned. ठीक है, आपको आगे भी तो बढ़ना है भाई. The teacher will move on its course. If you just don't care about it, you will never learn. People get through their final year and they do not know a single programming language. ठीक है, नहीं पता होता उनको. Reason? This is the reason. Because you are skipping on the first brick that is being put, and this kind of the first introduction of any language is the first brick. Many of you must already be aware of all those C construct and everything. So they must be thinking, what simple things I am teaching. I have to teach because most of the people are not aware of it. Okay. Soon we will see more advanced things also. But meanwhile, while you try to interact and try to dig up the things, we are going to find out which are interesting for you as well. Those who already know things. ठीक है. अरे भाई अब तो बात करना छोड़ दो. पीछे वाले बुला के पूछूंगा अभी मैं, बैठा दूंगा यहाँ काम करने को. नहीं करो ऐसा, ठीक है. पढ़ लो यार, पढ़ने आए हो, बताओ. ईद करीब आ रही है, आप लोग घर नहीं जा करके पढ़ने अगर आए हो तो पढ़ लो यार. फिर क्यों अपना कीमती टाइम बर्बाद कर रहे हो? Try to calculate someday the total fees you have paid in the semester and the number of subjects that are in that semester. ठीक है. Add to the cost of your living expenses, your travel expenses, everything, and then for this one class, assume that if you have a 2-hour class, then assume an average of 20 such classes, that is 40 hours of classes. So assume for one class, when you will calculate, you will see it is going to be costing you very high. It doesn't matter what teachers are getting, it matters what the universities is getting, and that is quite high. कभी कैलकुलेट करके देखो तुम कितने नुकसान में हो. In a full day, if you are not attending the whole class, you are losing probably a smartphone. The cost of a smartphone, simple smartphone, Samsung, I mean, not Apple, iPhone, simple. You are losing that at least. क्या सेंस बनता है? कौन समझदार आदमी ऐसा करता है भाई? वो भी जो 18+ का हो, जिसको वोटर राइट हो. नहीं करना चाहिए ना. आपकी लाइफ है, ध्यान दो. ठीक है. So this reason is resolved, right? Anyways, none of sane person will allow you to do this, to not return when you have promised to return something. Okay, you have promised to return integer here and you are not returning. Any sane person will not allow you to do this or pass this code, right? You must return what you have promised. ठीक है. If
Now what will be the output since we are returning?
no, it will work. It will work as usual. Normal. Nothing bad will happen. Okay, that's a guaranteed thing. But in the previous case, suppose I would have entered some value, say, let me show you. In fact, let me say the last value that I have entered is an invalid value. And what is the valid value? -992 plus 99. Okay, let me say 2 3 6 1 1 0 0 1. Now this is invalid value, right? I should exit. Let's see what happens. Okay, for this it is saying, because it is getting into this loop, this if block. That is why it is here. It is there, so it is returning 0. Let me comment this as well. Don't return here. Now the promise is fully broken. Now let's see. Promise is fully broken, right? What happened? Okay, you ran out of 10 daily execution limit. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's copy it. Let's go to another account. देखो भाई, इंडियंस के पास सारी चीज़ का जोड़ तोड़ होता है ना? तो यहाँ पे आकर के हम फिर इसको कंट्रोल ए, कंट्रोल सी, लेट्स गो एंड ट्राई हियर. ए, कंट्रोल सी, राइट? ठीक है. देख लीजिए, रिटर्न 0 आपका दोनों जगह कमिटेड है. रिटर्न 0, रिटर्न 1, राइट? So you're not returning anything. So now let's try. Garbage value 326765 something is printed. That is the value of I. This value. ठीक है. Let's say 0. I am entering 4 for array 1, 1, 5, 3, and then 1, 0, 0, 1. Return value 35. It has printed invalid because 1001 is invalid, and if block we have printed that message. That message is printed, but the return value is something, some garbage value, 35. It has come this time as some garbage value, right? 35 has come, and when 35 has come, it is a positive value. Okay, so if block will execute and see, it has sorted. It will allow me to search also. Let's say 4 and this particular 4. Ideally, as per our case, the code should have not reached to this point. It should have exited much before, because I have given a bad input, 1001. The range that I have put a restriction in my business logic, right, was -99 to +99. Now, because the compiler is not behaving as per the right way, that means it should ensure that whatever you have promised, that promise should be fulfilled. This is not being checked by the compiler. Some garbage value is coming, and it's allowing the program to behave in a wrong way. So that is the error which is a business error. Okay? That is not a syntax error. That's a business error, right? It's coming because compiler is not enforcing that promise that we are going to return int value. That promise is not fulfilled. There are languages which make sure that you cannot do this, and then in that case you will not get this condition. You will not reach to this condition where you can insert a bug. Now assume this is an application, a financial application, where these values are being somehow used in the computation, and those computations land into databases, and based on that values which has landed today in the database, some next day some financial gains and loss kind of decisions are being made. So in the runtime you are going to lose money, right? So that's a bug in the, this is how the bug creeps in. Got the idea?
For that situation, real-time situation, we use those strict language to C, C++.
Please say again.
And what we have told once that for such real-time situations, we usually use strict languages like C, C++.
No. C is also a strict type check language. C is a strict type check language. The value being returned is integer only. It's 35 or some random garbage value. It's an integer value only. It's not a float or a character value. It's a strict type check language. But somehow, some of the condition that must be checked by the compiler is not enforced by C, being a very old language. Okay? So that is the problem here. Strict type checking, and like Python, which doesn't go for strict type checking, they can have different, other problems there. Problems in terms of computation time, CPU cycle, because when you already know at the compile time the value that is coming into a particular container is fixed of the type of either integer or character or a string or whatever, you already know it, right? And if that is not type checked like in Python, okay, or JavaScript, what will happen? That value, when it has to be stored in some variable, the variable has to be adjusted of according to that value. So that checking will be done at the runtime. So the at the execution time, this comparison for the data type and the container is also done at the runtime. So that is eating what? Your time, which must be used in the execution of the business logic. Okay? So that makes your application slower. So that is why any language which is not type checked is inherently slower than something which is type checked. Because in type checking, you are making sure that the data type do not mismatch at the compile time itself. You do not postpone it for the runtime. So runtime, this thing will not be done. That is already taken care. ठीक है, कंपाइलेशन आपको पहले ही मिल जाएगी. Got the idea? ठीक है. But we prefer Python for data science work because we are not worried so much about the speed. Rather, in that case, some negotiation could be done. We are worried about something else. There are huge libraries which are designed for that purpose. Okay, that works like a scripting language, just like the shell languages used to be. Okay, step by step. That makes more convenient for those kind of activities, right? So it doesn't mean one weakness of a language makes it a garbage. It may be suited for some other work, right?
So this one was just a compiler error or
This was a lack of enforcement of a policy by the compiler.
compiler?
The policy that compiler should make sure that whatever you have promised as a data type, you must return that value actually. You indeed should return it. But that is not checked, so any garbage value is being returned, and in that case, the application misbehaves. We have seen both the condition, where it is giving the right answer and where it is giving the wrong answer. ठीक है, क्या कह रहे इस पर? इसको एक बार रिपीट करना जाके लेक्चर. कोड दे दूंगा, यू कैन ट्राई ऑल्सो, ठीक है.